Part of the school, because the health concerns of the radiation things coming off these power lines. And I think it's thing to be taken into consideration as we're talking about above line or below line of this noise and health concerns.
Thank you.
Vincent, would you respond to that question a bit? We've talked about this before.
Yeah, this is sub-transmission, meaning it's less than 230 kV. The noise is, the way I've been told to explain the noise is if the whole room will just be as quiet as possible, that's going to be the noise on the transmission line. As far as the health concerns, you know, we can bring an expert in to address that. I don't know the exact levels that 138 kV puts off, so I know that the higher you get them in the air, the better it is. I know it's worse underground. So.
My name is Ted Caldwell. I live in the county in Midway. I just want to say that, you know, at the original meeting I went to in Midway, both Rocky Mountain and Heber came to the meeting and said, this is what we've decided. As Matt Jason said, this is a proposal, just a proposal, so I appreciate that, as opposed to the first meeting. Secondly, I really appreciate the in-depth analysis and effort of the council here in addressing these issues, so it's much appreciated. So I just want to address a couple of questions. Would the right-of-way costs be the same for overhead as underground?
Yes.
Why would that be? Would there not be more people readily willing to give easements to an underground than an overhead?
We have to buy the same footprint, whether we go overhead or underground, and we buy it based upon the purchase price of the ground. So.
But I think that there could be an additional component to that. What Bart's saying is, you know, the cost in determining these, the prices stay the same, but you may have landowners who would say, if you go underground, I'll donate mine. So that would be different, but that's an option, and not, we can't make the assumption that that's how all
More developers who are interested in aesthetic aspects of it.
Yeah, that's my point. I mean, what has been your experience there when you said, hey, we're going underground?
If somebody knows they can get $1, they're going to go for $2. That's been our experience.
I don't think anybody's ever given us an easement.
Whether they're overhead area or not, if they know their neighbor who doesn't care about the aesthetics is getting fair market value for the cost of that land that they're selling that easement on, they're going for it too.
I think all developers are going to put up ugly wires when they can put them down.
I'm just saying, that's from my
charge
experience.
more for their land and charge more for their homes. I think
one
you're being
neighbor's getting
disingenuous.
$1, the next neighbor wants the same $1. And
The reason we've never undergrounded 46 kV on our system, even with land that's been developed, is the developer hasn't wanted to incur those costs.
Right. There is a track history. There is in Lower Valley, the area by Jackson Hole, that land was developed, but it was basically a single landowner that was willing to do that. We don't know what we're going to get here. Are we going to try? You bet we are.
Okay, on one of the slides it said 795 ACRS or larger 46 kV. What does that mean?
It means that 795 and 46 kV at the 70 megawatt mark, which is where we hit in the 2040 time frame, based on the load flow study. So we would hit 70 megawatt, or on the load forecast study, we'd hit 70 megawatts in 2040. At that point in time, at 46 kV, we would be saturating that 795 line, or cable.
Is there any way to pull up the slide he's referencing? You're throwing out a lot of numbers, it's hard to follow.
So it says here, portion of the line work that is stated on the line college substation 7995 to ACSR. Heber may want to install a larger conductor, and this is just the engineer making a recommendation at 46 kV. When we hit 70 megawatts, And probably in that time frame of 2040, when we hit 70 to 75 megawatts, there's going to be like another critical decision made by this company and whoever is on the board at that point in time of whether to stay at 46 kV or go to 138 kV on our transmission system. And so that 795 cable is good to that 70 megawatts of load at 46 kV, but you know, instead of incurring the cost today of you know, possibly upgrading that cable and staying at 46 kV, I think that we're going to be a little light on voltage at 70 megawatts, and so we probably want to be looking at upping our voltage at that point.
I just wondered if there were options, you know, that, I mean, just like we can't predict future costs and things, we can't predict future opportunities either. And I suspect we will see future opportunities for waylaying these huge power poles in the future, and understanding that costs could go up in the future. So I just don't want us to completely disregard those kind of opportunities. And then the last thing, could you bring your dog picture back up?
You bet. Let's have something happy here.
I'm not trying to make it happy, but...
Uh-oh.
Okay. Imagine that lovely picture with a big steel power pole and 20 years.
Question, when you talk about that 70, when we get to that one with 70, back to the original question that was asked, will our current 138 kV line coming up from Provo to the Midway substation, were that substation upgraded and were the south line upgraded, when we reach that point at the year 2040, would that be capable of giving us all the power we need in our valley? Is that a question you could answer?
So let me just make sure I'm looking at it right. So number one, if this, I'll just tell you, just based on what I know a little bit about the system and RMP system, if you know, we hit 70 megawatts, they're burning a line, a 138 kV line from their Jordanelle point on Jordanelle Access Road over to Midway, somehow, some way to serve our load.
So you're saying that the line coming up Provo Canyon could not support that load?
In 2040, though, right?
Right.
In 2040?
Right.
I don't know when they're gonna, my take is, from what I know, in 2011 when I first started talking to them, they were talking about bringing that line from the Jordanelle Access Road over to Midway. I mean, that's the whole reason they're on our poles now, is we didn't want two lines. I mean, I had a board of directors that said, don't do two lines.
Right, and we get that, but I think, and maybe this is for next meeting when we are able to dissect that needs and necessity study better. I think the initial question asked, how much can our town, county, community use with what's just coming into our community now? For how many more years would that be sustainable?
With our current interconnection point.
Yep, the single interconnection.
So we're good for about 50 megawatts out there, and we're going to peak at 40 at least this summer.
Peak at 40?
We're going to peak at 40.
Got 50.
Okay, so
we're 10 megawatts away. Our you know, if you add up all of our substations on when they're on peak, we've already, you know, I mean, we're super close now.
So when the question was asked, with the growth that's coming, can that line handle it? The answer is no.
No.
I want to say one thing. So right now, last summer, summers in the past, for the last 4 years, on our summer peak, our voltage that we get from Rocky Mountain Power on that line peak from Provo Canyon comes in way low because of their line being stressed out at this point in time. Our transformer LTCs, which control all your voltage to your house, are tapped to the max on our summer peak. So what Jason just said, their line is stressed out and it will not serve our load in the future.
Well, and I think that's what we were kind of looking for, clear yes or no to that preliminary question. So we'll have to explore that some more. Okay, thank you.
I'm Scott Lewis, Midway. We're doing our part to reduce the need for this. We put in solar on our new home. We've been in 18 months. 16 months. We finished our first year as a net zero home. That's a 6,000 square foot home. We're generating close to 100 kilowatt hours a day right now from our home. And so we actually put power into the system. So I don't know how many homes you could do that with in the valley, but if we're talking about summer loads, the peak summer loads, that's not 8 o'clock at night, that's probably 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I would think. Is that wrong?
It's later at night.
It's later at night.
So do you have battery storage for your kilowatts?
We are adding battery storage. We're working with a company in Utah County that is doing some pretty innovative things in battery, where they're actually printing lithium cells very efficiently. But regardless, I just think that that's just something we have to consider when we're looking at our loads, because right now I trust when we say we're almost not making it, or we're kind of at that capacity. But if we can delay for a while, how soon we need that power by putting some of this funding that we would spend burying lines or building towers or whatever into distributed solar, it certainly can't hurt. And I know storage is an issue, and there are some creative ways to deal with storage.
Are you taking advantage then of the program that you like offers?
We are, and we were concerned about that because we are doing that metering, and you guys are doing a great job with that, and we appreciate that. Although when I did call in and asked, is this going to go away? Because Rocky Mountain did try to take it away and have huge inflation. And they said, don't worry, you're good for at least a year. So that was a 30-year investment that we made, and they told me you're good for a year. So we would like some assurity too, and I know our friends and neighbors would as well, so that they know they can make the same investment we did to stretch out how long it is till we need that additional power. I know that the last meeting that we were at here in this room, there was discussion about these setback thermostats and this incentive plans and all of this. And the comment that was made there is, we should do that. We should throw this money into this because we've got to do everything we can to reduce power consumption. So why not throw more money into reducing power consumption through solar programs? I thought it was great comments earlier. We've proved it works. There's 226 days of sun here in the Heber Valley. We should take advantage of that. So I'm glad to hear that they've locked us in for 20 years, that we're going to be getting that meter back at a 1-for-1. So that's really good. I'd love to see it right.
That's our feed-in tariff program. And so if you're on net metering, then you're rolling with our rate.
Feed-in tariff meeting, I don't know the terminology, but...
Well, it's a different program.
So we're on the program where we're putting energy in and we're getting paid back. And at the end of the year, if we've generated more than we've consumed, then we get a check, which we did this year.
And I think what a lot of the other companies have reversed that, not been as generous, is if our rates go up, correct me if I'm wrong, if we commit to you for 30 years or whatever, we're going to pay you 6 cents for all the power you committed, then all of a sudden we're paying 6 or 7 cents, and then we can't afford to do it. Is that kind of what's happening in the bigger cities that have more solar customers?
I think any business would pay what,
Because it's a rolling rate, it's not always the same rate.
a trinket's worth a trinket. And that we're in kilowatts, so a kilowatt's worth a kilowatt. And, we're currently paying retail rate for kilowatts. When they're pumped back into the grid, that rate could change. It could go up or down. That's why we can't guarantee it.
And that's a good thing for the consumer, because if rates go up to 15 cents a kilowatt hour for putting in a kilowatt hour in, we should be able to get a kilowatt hour back out, using the system as a battery. So that's great for everybody. The other thing I wanted to just note is that I had a question about the costs. We looked at the costs here and what that would mean for the people who are paying the power bill every month. But we've already said that with the growth level that we're at right now, if we did have to bury this line and put a line in through here, that we're okay right now. We don't need this right now. By 2020, we need to start figuring something out. So that points to me that those are all growth issues. So would we look at doing some sort of an impact fee that's assessed at time of construction as opposed to a monthly tariff on every payer of power. Because that's where the new consumption is coming from. It's going to force us to make these difficult decisions. And the last thing I was going to say is during this meeting today, PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric in California, their stock took a nosedive because they had 175 lawsuits filed against them for causing the horrible fires that were in wildfires in Northern California because of their above-ground power lines that overloaded and then shorted out and caused those fires. So the worst part of that story is that the power company is saying that they're asking for immunity from all the lives that they've devastated because they said, look, if you sue us, we're just going to pass this along to our users and our consumers in higher rates. So I guess I question if, in addition to all of the money, and it's real, are we building an antiquated system by putting in more above-ground power lines when we're moving towards a future of renewables and underground lines and other people who are solving some of these problems in better ways than just doing what we've always done for the last 50 years.
Chris Johnson, 950 South Coldwater Way in Midway. First, I just want to thank you for doing this study. It casts important light, I think, on a lot of questions that have existed, certainly in my mind and probably other people's for quite a while. I just have a couple of questions. One is, do these estimates of growth take into account the actual or potential impact on growth of the existence of these monster poles? Yeah. Has anybody done a survey, and you can do them, of developers and consumers, potential homeowners, on the desirability of building in this valley or living in this valley with those?
No, we have not done.
Okay.
You guys talk to developers? I don't. I mean, not about this.
I mean a real study. I don't mean casual. Yeah, I don't mean casual discussion.
No, there are people that if they thought it would stop growth, they would say that.
Put them up. Developer that wants to annex half a valley and build all over the place up there, so doesn't mind power poles at all, I don't think.
Well, let's talk about that. Mayor Kozlowski, Mayor Potter, Mayor Johnson, you wear two hats here. I think everyone would agree about that. You're here to serve the residents of the valley and provide power to them, but you also have constituencies in your towns. What kind of town do you want? Do you want a town that perhaps resembles Park City, which I think has been pretty nicely developed? Or do you want a town, I'm just picking one that I was in recently, maybe that looks a little bit more like Orem? Those are real questions, and the answers to those derive from these types of decisions. Let me just ask you, show of hands. Anyone been to Irvine, California?
Live there, yes.
Okay. Anyone who's been to Irvine, as I went recently, will notice there are none of these towers here.
Zero.
And what is the consequence of that? At least one of them.
People move there.
Is it not the most popular city in the state of California, if not the entire country? That's a result of decisions like this that were made some time ago and implemented. And sir, with all due respect, developers love building there because they can charge more for their homes because they are deemed to be in a desirable community. I hope you can do a study.
Quite a bit for homes here too.
What was that?
My name is Elizabeth Brereton. I represent Bolt. I just had a couple of questions to follow up on Jason's presentation. Before I get to that, I'd like to thank the staff for putting this together. Before a legal career, I worked at the Division of Public Utilities as an economist in rate cases, and I also worked for the Western Electric Coordinating Council dealing with grid reliability issues. So I think that, certainly issues of reliability and a second point of interconnection, I understand where Heber Light and Power staff are coming from on that. Reliability is important. I guess today I just wanted to drill down on a couple of statements made. In Jason's presentation, he cites to Utah Code 5414-201, which is a statute that was enacted to allocate excess costs incurred by the utility for underground mine burial. And my question today is, why does Heber Light and Power believe that it is obligated to shoulder those costs as an interlocal energy service entity organized under Title 11 and not Title 10?
I don't think that we are required to shoulder those costs. I'm just saying that Rocky Mountain Power is not going to shoulder those costs, and so it falls on the local entities to shoulder that betterment. So we're the local utility, and so we're just showing what rate impact would be based on Rocky Mountain Power's participation, from the difference of what an overhead line would be versus underground with their participation with our rate base. I guess each entity like Midway City, Heber City, Wasatch County could do the same thing from a property tax perspective on the betterment of this transmission line.
So you used the term betterment, and I saw that term before in the contract that was filed with FERC, the Heber Light and Power contract with Rocky Mountain Power. So I guess I didn't see where a betterment was defined as an underground transmission line. Is that something that's been discussed with Rocky Mountain Power?
No. It's just kind of a term that is used in the industry when you need to better something beyond typical construction.
So Heber Light and Power then isn't saying that they're required to shoulder the burial costs under Title 54.
So as the attorney for the power company, I suggest that if we're going to get into what looks a lot like a cross-examination, we do this in a more appropriate setting. This is simply a public hearing. Obviously, the board can direct Mr. Norland as it sees fit.
Yeah, I think it would be good if we could get these questions so we could research them, because there's always new things coming up, and I think it's helpful to have new perspective. But I think it's not fair to put our staff on the spot on legal things that are technical like that.
Sure.
We haven't been explored entirely.
Well, and I'll raise a question. I guess we'll raise it later, but whatever. Perhaps if Volt has questions in light of the pending litigation, or the threat litigation, they need to ask these questions to our attorney, not to our board.
This is
Item number 8. If the Heber Light and Power Board approves the installation of a massive overhead power line through Heber and Midway, they can expect a costly legal fight and delays, as well as a painful PR campaign for Rocky Mountain Power. I don't read that any other way than threat litigation. Once we have threat litigation, as a board, as a council, we are no longer obligated to talk to those potential litigants. We refer them to our attorney.
These are citizen questions.
That's under the heading of vote.
These are citizen questions.
No.
Fine, then give the notes to a citizen and have them answer.
I recognize I don't mean to cross-examine, and the reason why I raised the issue was because it was included in the presentation. And this is the first time that I'm aware of that statute has been cited as the reason for Heber Light and Power ratepayers having to cover these costs. So the basis for my question was to establish kind of where this was coming from. I had a couple more questions on cost. So I noticed that the option 2 in the rate study included the property acquisition costs. And I was wondering how those costs were calculated, or what those costs are, because I haven't seen anything that actually a number attached to overhead construction.
Still, as the company's attorney, being that you are legal counsel for Volt, I suggest these communications come from you to me, and I will communicate those and get those answers as appropriate, rather than as a Q&A session during what is a public hearing.
Well, this is a public body, and to that end, even if the public body is represented by counsel, citizen representative does have the right to ask questions on a public presentation.
This is a public hearing, not necessarily a Q&A session. I'd just like to remind you and the rest of the group.
Wait, okay, and I did say we would take some questions, but most of them would be for further study, because we're not prepared to answer every question today, and that's why we want to keep learning and hearing questions that we need to look into. So I would suggest if you can answer them, but we're not going to respond anymore, under advice of our attorney, that we can hear your questions and know as a board those things are out there, and then we can talk to Stephanie and totally get back with you, and even have a separate meeting.
Sure, and even publish those answers. I think the questions are very fair. I think the key is that we want to continue to have dialogue. We want to continue to answer those questions. In my statement at the very beginning, I indicated that I don't believe a lawsuit's necessary. I believe we can work amicably and find solutions. I know that in Midway, when we are threatened with a lawsuit, that shuts everything down. We can no longer have a discussion, and I don't know if that's what was intended by Volt with that. And again, I think that none of us here, I can only speak for myself, but I'm fairly certain the board would agree with me. We want to get out any answers to any questions you may have. So you've got some really terrific technical questions, probably best addressed in a written form, giving our staff an opportunity to answer in a written form.
Sure. Well, then I guess we can follow up with written questions, but just overall, I think that, Volt shouldn't be looked at as an adversary necessarily, that citizens in your community can be a tremendous resource of information, for information. And I think that the questions that many members of Volt have are pretty specific as to what are the property costs here, what are the assumptions, how does the contract fit into these cost calculations. For instance, the easements. Rocky Mountain Power requires a 55-foot width easement and vegetation removal within those easements. Whereas Heber Light and Power has a very different requirement. So I think that, to the extent that we can keep an open public dialogue that involves everyone in the entire community, not just Volt or not just individual citizens of the community, I think that's productive, but we're more than happy to submit these written questions.
Yeah, we would appreciate that, because it's true. We are always advised when there's threat of litigation, because we're board members, and anything we say comes up in litigation, so it just shuts the whole conversation down when there's threat of litigation.
And I don't think that was a specific threat of litigation on the part of Volt. I think it was a general observation.
You have to read it in the other way.
Sure.
Which is why I did my statement at the beginning. I appreciate Volt. We want to reach out and respond to those questions. I hope that our responses will be published. The responses I gave at the beginning of this meeting will be published on the Volt website after each one of their issues that they raised. I would